Now, we turn our attention to the here and now and to our spirits. We light our chalice and welcome this wider community to worship with these words from Joyce Sutphin. Forget everything you've ever done. Make no comparisons. Simply listen. Listen with your eyes as if the story you are hearing is happening right now. Listen without blinking, as if a move might frighten the truth away forever. Your whole life might depend on what you hear. Welcome to our celebration of life.
Good morning. Today is a special opportunity. Once per month at the time of our offering, we share our plate with an important partner organization in the wider community. Today, our Share the Plate recipients are our two primary partner schools, Lingelbach and Henry schools, both of which we've had a long multi-year relationship with. It is super critical that we continue to support our public schools in their endeavors, including MLK service days and community cleanup days, as well as supporting the PTA. Today, we can honor this tradition of support for our neighborhood schools by giving generously today. So let us share our plate today, and then let's contact our lawmakers tomorrow and insist that all our school children be provided the full resources that they deserve.
Your offering today. We share the plate today with Lingelbach Elementary and Henry K-8 schools. Text donations of any amount to 215-608-2660. For example, 20 space STP sends $20 to share the plate. 20 space Sun sends $20 to the general USG plate. 20 space COVID sends $20 to the USG's COVID Relief Fund, or 20 space Pledge applies $20 to your annual USG pledge. You may also give online at usguu.org/give.
Good morning, Unitarian Society of Germantown family, and blessings to all on this gorgeous fall morning. We have so much, so much going on in the life of our community. I'm really grateful for all the activities that folks are making happen to help us with spirituality and justice making. I do want to call our attention to one critical Get Out the Vote event happening with Unitarian Universalists and Power. Folks from around the nation are going to focus on Pennsylvania this coming Saturday. So it's 1 to 4, and I'm asking folks if this is one that you can make, please do. I want as many USG members and friends as possible on this one. It's going to be sort of a national rally for Pennsylvania Get Out the Vote, and it'll be meaningful and memorable. So please try and be there. I will be there. This month, we have an important topic in our thematic work with worship and small group ministry, deep listening. And thank you to Mark and Meg for the beautiful music, which is helping us have synergy with that topic this morning. The flute really resonates. I'm exploring a book in my sermon this morning that our wonderful director of spiritual development, Ryan Hurd, referred me to. It's called Healing Night by Ruben Naiman. This is a reading from that literature. From the oscillation of atomic particles to the swirl of galaxies, from brain waves to the beat of the heart, and from the tempo of day and night to the seasons of the sun, rhythms literally rule our world, and they regulate us. From merry-go-rounds to rock and roll, from personal routines and religious rituals to standard operating procedures, rhythms provide a structure for virtually all aspects of life. In the course of our daily lives, rhythms serve as clocks and calendars, as metronomes and baselines, telling us when it is and consequently what to do. Rhythms tell us when to breathe, eat, mate, when to be active, and when to rest. And they tell us when to sleep, dream, and awaken. Science is just beginning to discover what sacred traditions have known all along. Rhythms are ubiquitous, powerful, and healing.
Good morning. I'm Latifah Griffin, intern minister here at USG. This morning I'll be doing the Story for All Ages, a very appropriately titled book about sleep. Sleep, sleep, sleep. A Lullaby for Little Children All Around the World by Nancy Von Lahn. So settle in, relax, and let's enjoy the story. Sleep, sleep, sleep. A Lullaby for Little Ones Around the World by Nancy Von Lahn. As you can see, all of creation benefits from the ritual of sleep. We are living during a time and a space where the idea of getting rest and sleep is often placed on the back burner. We are living during a time where stress is at an all-time high due to COVID and quarantine and the political landscape. As a congregation, how can we, like all of creation, intentionally participate in the ritual of rest and sleep? How can we ensure that our children are getting enough sleep? How can we ensure that they're taking enough breaks? A lack of sleep contributes to our overall mood, right? So getting more sleep and rest will improve our concentration, regulate our mood, sharpen our memory, among other things. It is important to teach and model for our children how to disconnect from external stimuli. And if this is an area where you particularly struggle,
I would encourage you today to be more intentional about your sleep hygiene. I would encourage you to explore ways you can add a nap to your daily routine if you are working from home every day. I would encourage you to explore ways as a family to get more rest, intentional rest, because it's important. Thank you.
Thank you, Latifa. Your accents were remarkable. I especially like your koala bear, and I'm sure we all have our favorites from that wonderful story and the very important message afterwards. I ask you now to take a moment for quiet reflection, at the end of which Kent will lead us into meditation, then leading into Spirit of Life. As you focus inward, bring your prayers and inner light to all those in our community, our city, our nation, and our world whose lives have been marked by suffering recently. Close to home, our thoughts are with Nancy Roker Coates, who recently had a scary car accident. She's physically okay, but had a tough scare, and our thoughts are with her. Our thoughts and prayers go out to Jean Grau and her wife, Beth Sprinkle, Kat Grau and Andrea Barsovic and Rudy Sprinkle, as they mourn the death of Jen's father and Kat's husband, Ido Grau, who recently suffered a fatal heart attack. Let us again turn our thoughts to those in our community, at home, in hospitals, or in nursing homes, suffering the effects of social isolation during these trying times. If you know someone living in a congregated setting who cannot accept visitors, make this the week you reach out to let them know that you're thinking of them. Let us all look forward to better times when we can gather together in person again.
I invite you now to a sense of meditation and introspection, getting comfortable where you're seated, intentionally breathing in and out. We hold those joys and concerns that Jeff lifted up in our hearts together as beloved community. And we certainly reiterate that Nancy is surrounded by love, and Jen and Beth and Kat are surrounded by love for the loss of Ido. Hope Nancy's recovering well from her scary car accident. Breathing in and breathing out. Giving thanks for this day. Embracing this life experience. Right now, nothing more to do or achieve. With each exhalation, go deeper into yourself. With each exhalation, let yourself go a little more. Falling deeply into a more restful state. Your whole body resting right now. Focus on what may be difficult to release and give attention to undoing the knots. Relax your forehead. Relax the shoulders. Each exhalation, relax the whole body. Just letting go and almost feeling a sense of weightlessness. Waves need to roll in to have the energy to roll out again. Every bit of space in your body that you give breath to responds and becomes more rested. May you and all sentient beings experience liberation of self through rest and sleep. One morning, I was out in the backyard rolling up the hose, kind of in a fog of exhaustion, when I saw my neighbor. This was early in the pandemic. And we started chatting about all the changes we were experiencing and discovered we were both having sleeping problems. I explained that I was waking up in the middle of the night and struggling to fall back to sleep, and she said, "Me too." And in the days, excuse me, in the days and weeks to follow, I heard a refrain of sleeping challenges from many friends and family around the country. I began to see articles about COVID insomnia in the Philadelphia Inquirer and elsewhere. Who among us hasn't gone through some sleeplessness during the pandemic? A study published in June in the Journal of Sleep Medicine indicates that for many people around the globe, the coronavirus pandemic has generated significant stress, anxiety, and worries about health, social isolation, employment, finances, as well as the challenges of combining work, school, and family obligations. For a large number of people, these factors have, quote, impaired sleep and circadian rhythms. At a time when healthy sleep is particularly important to cope adaptively with this crisis and uncertainty about the future. Before the pandemic hit, many Americans already suffered from poor sleep habits and the negative consequences. It's documented that here on the East Coast, we are more sleep deprived than the average American. My parents could never believe that Leno came on at 11:30. Chicago people, they just could not figure out how that worked. And I said, it doesn't work. We just watch the late night talk shows and are tired. And all this is difficult because we know that our minds, bodies, and spirits need good sleep and suffer when deprived. Without good sleep, our cognitive skills decline. Sleep scientist Matt Walker says, you need sleep before and after learning in order to hit the save button on new learnings. If you think of the brain like a sponge, good sleep helps with the soaking capacity. Scientists tested the hypothesis that pulling an all-nighter is a good idea for study effectiveness. The answer is no. Studies show that sleep deprivation reduces brain capacity by up to 40%. So for a child in school struggling with sleep deprivation, this could mean the difference between receiving a 95 on a test and receiving a 55 on a test. During various times of this crisis, we have also lost many of our schedule regulating factors. Especially during the shutdown, people found themselves in more free-floating schedules. And for many folks, fewer restrictions on schedules, such as being able to sleep in a little later because of not commuting to work or school, not needing to get up to get down to the dining hall at a certain time, has allowed folks to sleep in longer with positive benefits. So in general, each person benefits from being mindful of the effects of significant schedule changes. When regularly scheduled activities, which required us to go to bed or wake up at a certain time, are no longer happening or are substantively changed, our circadian rhythms are altered and problems can arise. One stark example of the importance of regularity of night and day rhythms, circadian rhythms, comes from daylight savings time. Multiple studies have shown that in the spring, on the day when we lose an hour, people in the United States as a whole experience increased numbers of heart attacks, car crashes, and suicides. In the fall, on the day when we gain an hour, people in the United States on a whole experience fewer of those catastrophes and problems. Of course, we live with this strange, ironic fact, which is that most everyone knows sleep is important. Most everybody knows that sleep impacts health and well-being. This is not new news for most. Yet many folks continue to deprioritize strategies and practices to improve sleep. So, before looking at some of the ways of how we can engage healthy spiritual practices, I thought we could all benefit from taking a step back together and look at the why of we may or may not want to prioritize sleep as a spiritual practice. A number of negative associations with sleep are deeply embedded historically. In Greek mythology, one of the earliest established gods was Nyx, or the personification of night. Nyx's sons were Hypnos, the personification of sleep, and Thanatos, the personification of death. Perhaps the most famous story involving Hypnos is when he was drawn into helping Hera and the Danaans win the Trojan War. Hera loathed her brother and husband Zeus. She married her brother who she loathed, so that would probably be a whole nother story to unpack, but we'll put that on hold for right now. But she was at battle with her husband Zeus, and she devised a plot to trick him. And in order to do that, she convinced Hypnos to put Zeus to sleep on 2 different occasions. Both times when Zeus slept, he lost important battles. That was the consequence of sleeping. On the second occasion, Zeus's sleeping allowed Poseidon to set sail across the seas without being attacked and get in position to win a critical battle that won the Trojan War. Those early mythological stories are so powerful, associating night and sleep with danger. They tell us through all that, this is Joseph Campbell mythological embedded in the DNA stuff, which says, stay alert, don't fall asleep, or else enemies or wolves or goblins will get you. Sleep has always also been associated many times with falling behind. The Protestant work ethic run amok teaches that the early bird catches the worm. And oh, by the way, the night owl also catches the worm. And folks who sleep long and well often go without eating or succeeding. Ruben Naiman recalls how Star Trek's 709, an attractive, rigid, partially rehabilitated, half-human and half-robotic Borg, taught a recent generation that incessant drive can be sexy. This Borg's 709 was remarkably productive, quick, no nonsense, highly efficient. Nonetheless, even with her amazing capacity, 709 still had to endure the inconvenience of sleep or recharging. We're often taught that sleep is an inconvenient interruption to what we really could be doing or would rather be doing. Certainly since the invention of television, sleep has been framed as inconvenient because there are so many more interesting things to do. Why be bored sitting on a rocking chair welcoming dusk and getting ready for bed when you could play video games or surf social media feeds or watch any one of 280 cable channels? Who wants to sleep when it involves risks of danger, falling behind, or boredom? Do not fret, people. And of course, you may be asleep already during this sermon, and in some ways that would be good, I guess, if you're sleeping right now. But wake up, because I'm trying to limit my sleep jokes. There is good news. There is good news, and I want you to listen here, because we know that a healthy perspective can turn these ideas on their head. You can embrace the reality that the spiritual practice of sleep can help you be safe, empower you to accomplish important goals, and enjoy an exciting and meaningful life. Truly. You may be wondering, you might have been wondering if you saw the title of this sermon, Kent, what in the world are you doing on this date preaching on sleeping when, as Mark Bernstein so powerfully preached last week, our faith right now calls us to conquer 5 different epidemics. There are 5 epidemics we have to be fighting with our faith right now. I adamantly agree with Mark's sermon, beautiful sermon last week. Racism in every form, poverty, environmental destruction, the coronavirus, and an existential threat to our democracy. Excuse me, a little something in my eye. What I'm saying this morning is that good sleep improves our capacity to conquer these massive challenges and epidemics of racism in every shape, poverty, environmental destruction, coronavirus, and the existential threat to our democracy. We are getting out the vote, and we can do it better, like at a 95, if we're well rested. Any of these things we might be doing at giving all our best, but doing at a 55% effort if we're sleep deprived. I'm saying that for being a good family member, friend, or neighbor, the spiritual practice of sleep improves the quality of your living. In order to live a healthy, effective life, human beings need an average of 7 and 9 hours of sleep every 24-hour cycle. So sleep takes up approximately a third of our lives, and we have opportunities to have an impact on the quality of that experience, which then affects everything else. There are many approaches to healthy sleep, and many folks need some extra help from professionals. If you're one of those people, don't be down on yourself. Don't buy into the stigma. We're very lucky to have a lot of resources, and the church is here to help you find those resources. Think of it this way. Some people need glasses from a doctor, and some people don't. Those of us who wear glasses try not to be down on ourselves. Some folks need some professional help on sleeping, some don't. Let's engage the spiritual practice of asking for and receiving help. For all folks, here are some main ideas to keep in mind regarding the spiritual practice of sleep. First, get in touch with your sacred rhythms. Get in touch with your sacred rhythms. As Ruben Naiman writes so eloquently, from the oscillation of atomic particles to the swirl of galaxies, from brain waves to the beat of the heart. Rhythms literally rule our world, and they regulate us. In the course of our daily lives, rhythms serve as clocks, and calendars as metronomes and baselines. Rhythms tell us when to breathe, eat, mate, when to be active, when to rest. Take some time to reflect on which rhythms exist in your life, which are important for you. It could be sunrise or dusk. It could be how you welcome the noon hour. Regular daily practices can serve as metronomes. You may sing lullabies, not only the little ones, but to adults or just to yourself. That's beautiful. Latifa should be ordained today for the way she did all those lullabies. That's just shows what a great minister she is. For your routines, you may drink chamomile tea at night or meditate each morning. You may sing Spirit of Life before bed. You may give yourself a foot massage when you wake up. Listen to what you need. One way to figure out what rhythms matter most to you is take the clock out of your mind for extended periods of time and be extemporaneous. Take the clock out of your mind for extended periods of time and be extemporaneous. I love when heavy snow shuts things down. Schools, businesses, churches close. When this realization hits that everything planned for the next day is canceled, I often feel a satisfying flow of excited restfulness and anticipation through my body. This is similar to the feeling that can happen when we intentionally take the clock out of the management of some of our day. I want to recognize we have a number of folks in the church, in the worship service today, who are so busy, many especially parents working jobs, that you may say, Ken, I have no time to do that. It is not, yeah, I'd like to do that and I'd like to go to Mars on a vacation, but it's not happening, Ken. I deeply respect that and I know it's true. So if that's your case, maybe you just take a 15-minute segment during a day, build in one block, maybe during 1 or 2 weekend days per month, you can build in 2 hours where you go with no clock. Just do what you can, but take the clock out and just kind of live the way your body needs to go, because it can allow yourself to more directly monitor your breath. Is it heavy or light? Being off the clock allows you to monitor the rhythms of your needs and wants for rest or play, going slow or fast. And I know many folks have taken this opportunity, whether intentionally or not, during the pandemic, and followed their body rhythms more intentionally, and the focus has improved their sacred rest and sleep. While embracing rhythms, the dusk and the night are there for us, and they're so important and so valuable and so often overlooked. And that means it's important to do that, to pay attention to dusk and night and darkness. Limit the amount of light at night. This means turning off the screens as early as you can. I am bad at this. I'm bad at this one, people. I'm trying. Been reading this book Ryan gave me for a month and trying to get off my screen earlier, at least an hour before going to sleep. Darkness allows for the increase of melatonin, the natural sleep aid. It's important to note that caffeine, blue light from screens, and alcohol all inhibit the release of melatonin. Let dusk and darkness do their job. An honest and mindful interaction with dusk and darkness will help us with sleep. In Healing Night, Dr. Naiman writes poignantly, and I really think there's a lot here. We suffer today from serious complications of psycho-spiritual night blindness, a far-reaching failure to understand the significance of night in our lives, health, and spirituality. However, with intentionality and practice, we can develop. I've been practicing this for about a month now, reading this book. Practice relating more fully with the healing experiences of night. Dr. Naiman says humans have a capacity for nocturnal lucidity. I want you to write down that phrase, maybe nocturnal lucidity, which involves extending our awareness in areas in which we lie beyond our understanding. So maybe go outside tonight and just feel the dark and see maybe with your 6 senses, or at least your 5 senses, do you feel a lucidity there? You could do it just after you turn off the lights in your bedroom. Just sense what you feel with the dark. And I think nocturnal lucidity is a phrase that resonates when we practice paying attention to what is in the darkness. We can feel and realize that darkness and night can be safe and healing and open us to new areas of night and darkness consciousness. The last idea for your consideration when engaging the spiritual practice of sleep is to focus less on taking something in order to sleep and focus more on letting go of something in order to sleep. In the United States, people consume vast amounts of alcohol, marijuana, antidepressants, sleeping pills, and tranquilizers to modulate our restless waking hours. Of course, taking something to help with your sleep can be fine and good, especially when under the knowledge or guidance of a physician. And it's also true that while engaging sleeping as a spiritual practice, perhaps you can put the emphasis less on taking something in order to sleep and increase your intentionality of letting go of something to sleep. Let go of the day just lived. Put the day just lived to rest. Find ways to let go of your to-do list, your worries, laments. Letting go of the past or the future allows entry into the present. As you enter sacred rest and sleep, you are in the foundation of sacred self. You are in the foundation of your sacred self. You are in your interior home of sacred self, where you may find rest and rejuvenation. There are many paths to enlightenment. How do you engage the spiritual practice of sleeping? Let us live our lives with the sacred hope for good rest and sleep for all. Blessings be. Amen.
Our closing words are from Frederick Buchner. A person's calling. It is the work that they are called to in this world, the thing that they are summoned to spend their life doing. A person's life is full of all sorts of voices calling them in all sorts of directions. Some of them are voices from inside, and some of them are voices from outside. The more alive and alert we are, the more clamorous our lives are. Which do we listen to? What kind of voice do we listen for? We're glad you've joined us at the Unitarian Society of Germantown this morning. We will now extinguish the chalice as we end our worship service. Please pass the virtual piece to your neighbors as we see a video from 3 USG leaders. After the video, all are invited to either stay in the main room for a voting Q&A session or go to a breakout room for fellowship. To stay here for the voting discussion, you will simply click the word later. Otherwise, please click the invitation to the breakout room. Blessings to you in the coming week.
James Baldwin said, "We can make America what America must become." The Constitution gives us, the people, the responsibility to make this nation a more perfect union. We should follow in the footsteps of Congressman John Lewis and the notorious RBG to make this country a more perfect union by voting.
Everyone participating in democracy matters. In 2016, the Electoral College of Pennsylvania were decided by 44,000 votes. That's how much Trump won our state by. Yet, 2.5 million eligible voters in Pennsylvania stayed home that year. This year, we are committed to working with people across the state to encourage and empower people to express their right to vote, participate with us to get out the vote in Pennsylvania. It matters.
Here are 3 ways you can stand on the side of love and justice by voting and helping others to vote. The first one is obvious. Vote. Request your mail-in ballot now. Voting by mail is new in Pennsylvania, but it will be safe and secure. Ballots postmarked by Election Day will be counted if they are received within 3 days. You can also deposit your ballot in the mail or in safe and secure ballot boxes or at official election offices. We'll be having USG Zoom voting parties so we can fill in our ballots together and make sure we do it correctly so that our votes will be counted. You can also vote in person at your polling place on Election Day. Polls will be open from 7 a.m. to 8 p.m.
If you live in Pennsylvania or out of the state, we need you. More ways to help include virtual phone banks every Tuesday and Thursday from 6 to 8:30 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Power or UU the Vote will provide information and easy to follow instructions. For more information, go to any of the following websites: uuthevote.org or uujusticepa.org or usguu.org.
Let us continue the revolution begun in 1776 by holding our elected officials accountable and, most importantly, voting.